FaceOff, hokeja podkāsts. Šoreiz īstenībā būs tiešām par hokeju. Nekam citam mēs nepieskarsimies. Toms Prāvnieks, Kaspars Dviņskis.
Es pieskaršos basketbola kreklam.
Tu pieskarsies basketbola kreklam, bet starp mums ir distancīti, jo mums pa vidu ir Colton Gillies.
Labs. Šodien būs beidzot pa īstā. Mums ir viesis, mums ir Coltons Gillies studijā.
Mēs esam saņēmušies.
Principā mums būs algas pielikums.
Es ļoti ceru. Nu, tā kā šoreiz epizodē ar Colton Gillies par un ap hokeju par to, kā viņš nonāca šajā brīnišķīgajā spēlē, kas pie vēlna notika ar Rīgas Dinamo šajā sezonā, ko vispār labi ir sadarījis 4 gados Rīgā, un noskaidrosim arī, varbūt, kas vēl viņam interesē, vai ne?
Tieši tā.
Ķeramies klāt,
un mums būs viss angļu valodā, un mēs neko netulkosim. Piedodiet, meklējiet tulkus paši, ja jums vajag. Ok? Ok, labi, varam sākt.
Colton, it's nice to have you here. I've heard that this is your first podcast ever, right?
First podcast ever.
We're doing everything right. Everything is good.
Everything's good. Colton needs to be a little closer to your mic.
I'm relaxed. I'm good.
Yeah, you're relaxed.
First podcast, I'm relaxed. Okay. So, with what we will start with the childhood, right? I think to get to know him better.
Let's start from the top and.
From what top?
From the top.
The top.
Okay, top.
Yeah, when I was on the pinnacle of my career, and then I just...
That's what he said.
Yeah.
So, can you put us the picture, please?
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. Now, there's one great picture that I found on the internet. Not every kid in Canada wants to play hockey. Is it true? Because what I feel is like everyone in Canada plays hockey. Like 90% of the kids are playing hockey, and you're one of them. And we know that you have Uncle Clark Gillies, who is a Hall of Famer and all this stuff. So you had some other options, or it was the only one?
Honestly, when I was growing up, like that was I feel like the only option. Like you just played hockey. Like everyone just played hockey. Again, with the weather and everything, like where I live, like soccer, football wasn't very big. There was no like rugby or anything, which is those two sports are very big now. Like where I'm from, but yeah, growing up, hockey was the thing to do. I know now hockey, because I am still connected with kind of like, you know, I coach like 9-10-year-olds in the off season, so I know how expensive it is nowadays for people to play hockey.
Also in Canada.
In Canada, oh man, it is expensive. Once you get to a certain age now, there's these hockey schools, like academies now, that are, I want to say 14, 15, 16 years old. Like you can go to these hockey academies where you go to school. It's just like a normal school that you go to, but like you practice in the morning. They have their own team. You practice in the morning before school, and you get off kind of early from school to like practice on certain days and stuff. And it's just like it's hockey first, and then like kind of school second. And like even like the facilities that these hockey schools have, like they're better than all the Dinamo facilities. Like they're unbelievable. Like they're huge facilities. Like and I want to say it's like 20,000 Canadian a year to put your kid in
20,000 Canadian dollars.
Yeah,
in a year, like per year for like those schools. And I think they vary a little bit, but like I think that's like the average, which is insane. But like there's still like other routes you can take and places you can play, but like to get the top coaching, and you know, we talk about like 10,000 hours of practice or whatever, and like have the best of the best, like that's like the thing to do now. So everybody's throwing their kids in these things. And well, to compare, in Latvia it's 150 euros in a month for a kid, plus equipment, plus tournaments, and then you know it's not that much.
Well, it's still one of the most expensive sports
of course
your kid through in Latvia.
You can put your kid into the basketballs. It's
going to be way cheaper.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's why I think hockey's kind of died down a little bit in Canada.
What did you say? Died down?
Died down, like the popularity. Like it's
how is that impossible?
Well, Just because when we were growing up, it was like that was the only thing to do. Like you play hockey, but now like
you have really other options.
You have other options now that are not as expensive. You know, like just buy a pair of shoes and here's a ball. Go kick it for an hour. You know. Yeah.
But you mentioned that for the kids that play hockey, most of the time it's hockey first and studying second. Was that the case for you as well when you were a kid?
It was the case for me. Like, I was always more, you know, wanting to run around than sit and read a book. And I was always hockey first. And even as I got older and, you know, the kids kind of weed out a little bit and, you know, you kind of find out who's kind of starting to be like the better hockey players and stuff like that. Like I, from a young age, figured out you need to work hard and like when what you put in is what you get out. And like when kids were more worried about, you know, like, I don't know, the upcoming school dance, like I was the one, like, you know, used to be able to go to the rink where I'm from. You could pay $5 and they would have just like an open sheet of ice, and I would go on a Friday or something like that. I'd tell my parents like, hey, like I don't have any schoolwork. Like Fridays are normally like, yeah, like everybody just you know, ready for the weekend. Yeah, I would go there. I'd pay $5 and I could be there for like 5 hours. I would be on the ice for like 5 hours, and I'd have like this little tiny, those little MP3 players.
Yeah. That
could hold like 12 songs. I'd have that thing on and I'd just like be waiting for people to come so I could like, you know, play against them and stuff, you know. It was, and that's like I would say from like 14 years old, like that was like a thing I would do like regularly.
Yeah, like I think the pickup hockey games, only Canada. It's the only place on earth where that's happening. I don't feel that like in Latvia or even in Russia they have pickup hockey. If you go to play hockey on the open ice rink, you always are going with your friends, but you can't do like Colton just said. You just go alone and wait for somebody to show up.
Well, there are some ice rinks where there is a time where you can go with the all the equipment and wait for some other people to just play a little bit. But it's no, okay.
Not an issue.
Not so popular. But actually, if we're talking about the pressure on the kids, you know, you said 20,000 Canadian for a year for a kid. It must be a big pressure for all of the kids. When you're little, it's not that much.
Yeah.
But when you're 12, 13, then it must be a big pressure, right?
Well, like those academies weren't around when I was growing up. If they were around, I probably wouldn't even be a hockey player because like my parents wouldn't have been able to afford it, you know. But or they would have somehow found a way to, I don't know, sell everything. I don't know, who knows. But from a young age, I did have a lot of pressure, like especially like in Canada, you know, you have these like the WHL draft. You got scouts and people coming in that
and you're like 13 and
like
or
13, 14 years old, you know, and for me, like I was one of those kids where I was ranked in the top 3 in Canada in the world at the time, and like I'm like, God, like I don't want to let everybody down, you know, like what if I, you know, don't get drafted, like especially like when you're kind of like number 1 and 2, like you're like you want to stay there, you know, like you're
still super young.
Oh, you're so young. Oh man, like I remember getting drafted to the WHL, and I was supposed to get drafted first overall to Prince George, which is like the middle of absolute nowhere in Canada. Like from Vancouver, you got to drive like 8 hours north, and like you're in the middle of nowhere. Or I could have got drafted to Saskatoon, which was the second pick, and all my relatives are from Saskatoon area, so just so happens that the owners of both teams were brothers, and I basically just asked like if they drafted me first, or like if I went to Prince George, I would have went, but like if I could have went to Saskatoon, I could live with my grandparents and, you know, be closer to family, it'd be a better fit kind of thing. So I was able to go second overall, and it was during school. I was in math, and I had one of those little flip phones. I got a call saying I got drafted to Saskatoon. And
it looks like Magnitogorsk, right? Not?
Prince George, yeah, there she is. That looks nice, but I take a picture of the wintertime.
No wintertime.
Yeah, no, it's a small.
Google Maps is about showing how places are nice.
Yeah.
Even Magnitogorsk.
Even Magnitogorsk, yeah. But you also, like when you were young, you said you were number 2, 3 ranked in the whole country, in the hockey country. You also played in the national team, under 18, under 20 championships. What do you remember about those days, about those tournaments, your teammates?
Oh man, yeah, that was a whirlwind. First, so like when again, like too, you go play, like you're playing all winter long, and then you have like these tryouts to make these Canadian teams. You're basically in Canada, like if you're at that high level, like you're always trying out for these teams, and you're always playing hockey. Like there's no downtime. And
it was hockey 12 months a year, right?
Oh yeah, it was hockey 12 months a year, and well, there'd probably be like 1 month in between things and stuff, and you're trying to. I remember just not being on the ice at all, and trying to, like, I played baseball growing up too. My dad actually coached me baseball, which was cool. I was back catcher, but we're here to talk about hockey, not baseball. Yeah, it was. Yeah, and it's a lot of travel, and we got probably. I made every like junior Canadian team that you like. I guess you could make, and then the earliest one I can really remember was the Canada-Russia Super Series. It was like the first year they started doing that again. So that was my first experience in Russia. We had a really cool team too. It was you might need to look up the
under 20
the players. It wasn't under. It wasn't.
I think it's under 17.
It's the Canada-Russia
Super Series.
Yeah, and it was the first year they did it. Like we even had like Lucic was there. Was there for tryouts? It was like just when he started making, like when he made the NHL. But like we went to, like, I remember we went to Omsk, went to Moscow. Where else did we go?
But
we went Ufa.
I'm guessing during the Super Series you wasn't picturing that you're gonna play in those cities in Russia one day, right?
Definitely not. No, like, and on a regular basis.
Like Super Series is fun, maybe some World Championships or Olympics if it happens here, but not on a regular basis. I guess that's not what a Canadian kid is thinking about in the beginning of his hockey career. I also wanted to ask, how do people get on the Canadian national teams in these junior levels? Because in Latvia, okay, the best players, they always make the team, but like the third and the fourth shift, there are some question marks about some players. Maybe some parent is sponsoring the federation or stuff like that. Or in Canada, it's pure hockey. If you're good, you're on a team.
It's pure hockey. You'll get like a letter. Basically, you get like a letter in the mail. At least that's what they did back then. And then it's like it's just like a formal invitation to go to Calgary to like go to like where like Hockey Canada is like located and their training facility is, and you go there and you there's like I can't remember when they do trials, but it's in the spring sometime, and there'll be like, I don't know, like 60 or 80 kids that are in the top kind of, rankings or, like of their clubs, and like they've been scouted, like it's not like just like we don't know who this guy is, like everybody is there for a purpose, and you have this camp, and they kind of weed you out, and you do the camp, and then you'll have like these meetings at the end, and they'll let you kind of know if you made it or not, or at least that's how they did it when I was going through. And that was, they did, I know that was the summertime. That would have been like for like under 18s and stuff like that. And then for like World Juniors, it's more of like they see how guys are doing during their seasons, and they still kind of know like your name's on a list I'm sure, because you've done the tryouts and you've been here. You're kind of on their radar. It's not too often where a guy comes out of nowhere and you're like, who is this guy?
Yeah,
who this guy is, but you'll know who that guy is because they're having like such a good season or something. But for for World Juniors, the camps, I want to say in like just before they leave for the tournament, like you go early for a couple weeks, like a month before the tournament for World Juniors. They have tryouts in Calgary, and then teams picked, and then you kind of go straight over and try and bond as a team as much as you can before the tournament starts.
You watched this year's under-20 championship, the final. I think about the final, Russia, Canada. That moment with the camera. When the puck went out and touched the camera and went back.
I didn't watch it, but
you heard about that.
We woke up and you wake up, you kind of like look at everything, what's going on, and there was go on Instagram, you see the meme like Canada's best player, and it's like the
TSN
camera. Yeah.
I really enjoyed that they had one of the Russian players who's from Kazan.
He smashed the camera.
They had it in the Kazan Akbar's TV studio. They gave him a TV camera with a TSN written on it and the hammer, and he just went bam, bam, bam with the camera.
Well, actually, your opinion
but
about
actually,
that, because
it influenced the KHL as well, because in Arena Riga there were these little mics near the benches. They were hanging over the how do you say it in English?
Over the glass?
Yeah, over the glass.
Glass.
Yeah. And after the World Juniors, they took those mics away. So nothing that isn't hockey related.
I didn't even notice that. Yeah.
But that's actually interesting, because I think that it is outside of the ring, that camera. But also there are some cameras behind the net, in the World Championships as well. And they say that it's part of the rink. So your opinion. I just can't understand when it is in the rink and when it's outside of the rink.
First of all, whoever thought to include cameras being like, oh, the cameras are a part of the rink in the rule book. That's like some serious I don't know, thinking. But
don't influence the game.
I honestly, if that's in the rules, it's in the rules. But if where that camera was located, it was behind the glass, it was outside. It was outside the glass.
Outside,
so that puck should have, I don't know.
So then we can say that the net behind the glass, behind the net, is also the part of the rink at the same time. I just thought about that.
Yeah, well,
because it touched the
whatever
glass.
The rules say, I guess. We have to follow those. For the guy that wrote that one rule, I guess be angry at that guy.
Yeah, but in the KHL we don't have cameras on the side, right?
Not in Riga.
Not in Riga. Maybe in St. Petersburg. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think the nicest.
St. Petersburg has cameras
the St. Petersburg TV production is
best
there is in the KHL.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Okay, but Colton, back to you. I would think it's a pretty safe assumption that until the NHL draft, your hockey playing career was smooth sailing. Everything was probably going according to the plan, right?
Yeah, I mean, everything. I guess you'd say everything was going according to plan. I ended up going to Saskatoon.
Played for junior teams,
played all the Canada junior teams, and I actually played defense. Actually, I was a defenseman growing up until I got drafted to the
Really?
Yeah, and then I also played a little bit of forward. And then the WHL team liked me as a forward better than. It was literally within the span of maybe a year before I got drafted, I started playing forward and I played defense.
I've heard stories the other way around.
Yeah, the more often we see forwards getting as defenders.
Going back to defense, I haven't heard that.
Brent Burns.
Brent Burns, man.
San Jose Sharks.
Yeah. Is that your team or what?
Yeah, unfortunately.
It's a rough year.
This is not my year.
But okay, so you get drafted by the Wild in the first round. And actually, I read about it yesterday. Minnesota traded up to get you. They traded up 3 spots. What do you remember about the process before the draft? Which were the teams that contacted you and you felt that there was interest?
Oh man, well, you go to the combine, right? Like you got the NHL combine, and that's where they take, all the top, like players that are going to be getting drafted and stuff, and you do like that was one of like the big memories that I have, because you're in this big room, and in the middle of the room, it's like a sectioned out area. I think it was like a donut. So like basically everyone's standing in the middle that are like scouts and stuff like that. And then you got like stations in a donut shape around these guys. And like you're in this like your workout clothes, and they got every freaking test you can imagine, right? Like, and like
some math tests as well,
push-ups, and you're taking your shirt off. They're doing like a fat test in front of like all these guys, like.
I don't think we do that here. Like we do it all the time here.
Yeah.
Before you're getting knocked off.
Yeah, you do the fat test. They do jumping. They weigh you, see how many like bench press you can do, Wingate, and then you got like the VO2, which is like. It's like Wingate and then VO2. So Wingate is like this bike ride where it's like this bike that you ride as fast as you can, and depending on how much you weigh, there's like these weights that they basically drop once you're going full speed as hard as you can. They drop, and it acts as the resistance of the bike, and then it's like 30 seconds as hard as you possibly can, and they take like the reading of like, I don't know how fast you're going and whatever. And that one is the one that like gets people, like it just automatically makes you say, it's like a nervous system overload. And like I remember just before I went and did it, I don't know who's ahead of me, but they started throwing up in the bucket, in the garbage can, and I was like, oh my god, like don't throw up in front of all these NHL scouts, don't throw up in front of all these NHL scouts. And then you go to the VO2 max, and then you're just like hooked up to this like gas mask where they're reading your CO2 levels.
Your
CO2 levels. Yeah. So like basically they tell you when to stop. You can't just be like, oh, I'm too tired, like I'm done. Like they know how much oxygen and carbon dioxide is coming out of your body, so like they know like exactly if you can stop or not,
Yeah. VO2 was the reason why Lance Armstrong got fucked over, because somebody noticed that his VO2 level is like one of the lowest between all the pro bike riders. And they were like, how does it make sense? How is he winning 6 Tour de France in a row if he has no air in his body? So that was when people start making questions about cycling.
So at this combine, and then each team is in like a hotel or something, and each team has their own room, and you get a list of, each player gets a list, and depending on like what teams want to talk to you, that's the list. What time you go you basically knock on this hotel door, go in there, and it's like the whole organization, management staff just sitting in there waiting for you. And you just go in there and they start asking you questions, and
like those questions get weird, right?
Yeah. There was one question I can remember that was, they asked like, if your teammate is caught out drinking past curfew, what do you do? Or something like that. Like,
snitches get stitches.
Yeah, snitches get stitches.
What was your answer?
Yeah, what was your answer?
I think I had a real deep answer. It was something like, make sure he's okay.
It was a real answer?
Like you said all the right.
You said it.
You know what? I think I nailed it. I think flying colors. I'm sure they're still talking about me in the combine. Yeah. But yeah, and then so you kind of get an idea of how many teams are interested in you based on who wants to talk to you. So I almost talked to just about every team, because I was kind of in the middle there. And then you go to the draft, and just fingers crossed. Like I didn't really know. I had no idea going to the draft, like
where you're gonna land,
where I was gonna go. Like I was.
But you were pretty sure that you're going first round, right?
I was
sure. I was pretty sure I was going first round, because you do get like like the scouting rankings and stuff, and so you kind of know. I would have been shocked. I would have been shocked if I went anywhere, like if I went in the second round. But honestly, like just getting drafted is like amazing. You get it just gets you that foot in that in the door. You know, like it's so much harder for people that don't get drafted. You really have to have proved yourself in like other leagues, you know, to make the NHL. Like you got to climb your way up there. Yeah.
But for a young player, when you got drafted, what changes in the next day? What happens then? You got drafted.
Have a party at the night, or?
Yeah, first of all, party, and then what happens? The club is going to you, take you away from your family, put into the... No. What happens then?
Honestly, I guess I'm pretty lame. My brother was with me at the draft, and we just like went for dinner and
watched TV.
I don't even know.
Did you get to shake the commissioner's hand?
Yeah.
So it was.
Yeah.
Go on the stage, shirt, hat.
They actually didn't give me the hat. They said we don't like giving our players hats. We want the fans to see their face.
Yeah, because you're playing with a helmet.
Yeah. So like I didn't have a hat, which I'm not really a hat guy anyways, so it's okay. And then so you do that, and then you go down, you talk for 30 seconds to the commentators.
Yeah.
And then they take you to a different room, and there's like a photo shoot. And depending on what team you get drafted to, there's a photo shoot, and you can actually look up online. There's a picture of me. This is literally a minute after I was drafted. There's smoke, and my hands are on like a kind of like a glass table, and I'm like looking at the camera, and it's.
I'm googling Colton Gillies NHL draft and scrolling through the images.
Maybe I'll have to show you after. But yeah, there's like
we'll find it.
Yeah, there's smoke and there's yeah. Back when I used to.
Were you excited that the Minnesota was the team that drafted you because you played hockey your whole career, and Minnesota is like the state of the hockey in the USA?
You know what? I actually didn't realize how crazy it was in Minnesota when I got drafted. Like how much they loved hockey.
Yeah, if there's one place in USA that loves hockey, it's Minnesota.
Oh yeah, it was such a great place, such a great place to get drafted to. And then it's just such a whirlwind because everything just happens like right after. It's like after the draft, you go home for I don't know like a month maybe or a couple weeks, and it's like then you got your rookie camp during the season, so like they bring all their draft picks in and like so like you have to be in decent shape for that too. So you go home, you gotta start staying in shape because you gotta go show the team that you're a good hockey player, so
I would assume, I'm not knowing, just assuming that in the Minnesota was the place in your career so far where was the biggest media attention, the biggest attention from the fans as well, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. The fans, yeah, man, you can just walk down the street and there's people in Minnesota, wild stuff all the time.
Oh, look.
Okay,
the first one.
It is. Yeah, that's it. My nose is pretty straight here too.
Yeah. Looking good.
Yeah, that was about.
You can buy it for €500.
Whoa!
Oh, maybe I'll buy one. Put it in my room. Yeah.
Nice pictures.
Remember, yeah. I remember going to get that suit for the draft too. I went to this it's my first expensive suit ever.
How much?
Before that, I went to Moore's. I don't know if you guys don't have that here, but it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like a cost suit place, but that was a Hugo Boss suit. Yep. I don't know how much they costed back then, but yeah, it was expensive. My mom was like, oh my God. Like, you better wear this for a long time.
Exercise longer so you can grow into it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So in the first year in the NHL, you played 45 games. It was 2008-2009, and what's the weirdest thing? You played in the NHL, but in the next season you played in the AHL whole season, not in a single game in the wild. What happened actually that back days?
I'll actually go a little bit before that. Actually, it was like the year I played the World Juniors.
Yeah, you played in the Houston Aeros, yes. Yeah,
I ended up signing. That's when I ended up signing, after the season, and they were like, okay, now that you're signed, we want you to go down to Houston their American League hockey team, and just get some pro experience down there. You know, live on your own. Like, because from this point, I've been living with my grandparents. Who my grandmother, her nickname is Sarge. She's a hard woman. She kept me straight and narrow. But yeah, so I was like, okay, like. It wasn't even. They're like, you're not even going to play any games. Just, you know, practice, see what it's like, you know. And they were getting ready for playoffs. Like, they had a few games. They had like a couple games or maybe 10 games till.
In 2008, you played 11 games, 1 + 6.
Yeah, and
on the paper, it looks like a nice stretch.
Yeah, it was a good little stretch, and I got down there and I just like had one or two practices and meeting the guys, and they ended up getting like in a line brawl or something. A bunch of guys got suspended, and next thing you know, like, I have to play the next game, and I was just like, oh dear God, you know, and just got thrown into the fire and did well. Yeah, and like I was doing well, and I remember we were this is one of my, I would say my first initiations, I would say, into the American Hockey League, is we were playing like the Chicago Wolves, and there was this big, huge human being. I was starting line, and the coach told me to go out there. You're going to line up next to this guy, Andre DeVoe, and you're gonna two-hand him in the back of the calf. And I was like, and then I don't know if he was testing to see if I would do it, if I was like had the balls to do it. But I had John Scott right behind me on D, and I remember lining up to this guy, and he's just like, he's a man, and I'm just like,
you're a kid.
What was his name? Sorry,
Andre DeVoe.
Andre DeVoe. Okay.
It's a French. It's like, yeah, DAUX or something. Like, it's like a Andre DeVoe. And he was like a tough guy that could score and, you know, do kind of everything. And I didn't even know who the guy was at the time, but I'm like, this guy's got scars all over his face. He's huge. He's like twice the size of me, and I have to freaking hit this guy with my stick, skate away as fast as I can. What do you know? I did it, and he like.
What was DeVoe's reaction?
He swore and said, "Who the?" Can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah, you can swear.
Sure.
I mean, I did it on live TV. It's fine. And then John Scott had already had his gloves off, like
he's got your back.
Grabbed him, and you know, and then they fought, and yeah, and that was like my whole, God, this is it. I'm in the big leagues, you know. But and then I ended
after you skated from the ice to made the shift, it probably felt good, right?
Yeah, it felt good. You know, that's big adrenaline rush, not dying. So yeah, not getting your face beat in. Back then, like, again, it's been a while since I've been in the American League, but it used to be like pretty much a fight a game. Like, just whatever, like if there's a hit, some guy coming in, whatever, fight. It was just like the thing, you know, a lot of fighting.
So those were your first moments in the AHL, but I wanted to know, do you remember what was the plan for the Wild? Because they probably said to you, okay, we drafted you because etc., etc., etc. We want you to do this, and this is what we want to do in the 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, and like when I was down in the American League, like I did well when I was there that little stretch, and they ended up. Then, you know, you go to tryouts, and they had a plan for me. They did the same with like Brent Burns and James Shepard and Pierre-Marc Bouchard. They didn't think that I was gonna really get the development down in WHL. It was they're like wanted me to stay there, and I wasn't gonna play every game, but you know, it's a process and just stick with it. And then. So I ended up playing that season in the NHL. I was on like fourth line, like with Bugard, and it was living your dream, really, whether I was ready to be there or not. Like, I remember being in the locker room, like, I had Owen Nolan to the left of me, and I had Marian Gaborik sitting to the right of me. And that's where I sat in the locker room, and I was like,
dream come true.
And I was like, these guys are like, first of all, Owen Nolan, he was like getting pretty old at the time, like, but like,
he was a legend.
Absolute legend. San Jose Sharks, come on.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I think he got, in the mid-90s, he got traded straight up for Rosalind, right?
Yeah. It was the story, yes.
Colorado. Yeah.
But like that, again, like, and then Marian Gaborik at the time, this guy was like the fastest human being I've ever seen in my life at the time. Like,
I really enjoyed playing with Gaborik on NHL 04, I remember.
He was like the most explosive skater ever. Like, I couldn't believe, like, he could skate, like, his speed from like blue line to blue line could be just anybody. It was crazy. And but yeah, those were my guys I was sitting next to, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna sit here quietly and just like keep my mouth from hitting the floor.
Gaborik is one of 4 players who has scored 5 goals in the last 25 years in a single game, actually. Because yesterday was Mika Zibanejad,
he got 5.
He got 5, yeah.
That's crazy to get 5 goals in the one game.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We know what we're talking about.
Must be nice. Yeah. And they had a plan for me, and then.
So the plan was to get you ready, slow and steady.
Like the next year was going to be like a big year for me, and the general manager, Doug Riseborough, ended up getting let go. All the coaching staff, like, they cleaned house. Like, the owner cleaned house.
After your rookie year.
After my rookie year.
Yeah, that's probably not good.
Yeah, so they bring in Chuck Fletcher, new coaching, you know. So normally when that happens, like, you know, the GM kind of brings in guys that he likes too, and, you know. And so I was actually the last cut of training camp, and I was like, thought I was having like a good preseason, and I actually already started renting a place. I was like getting like settled in Minnesota.
So did you get the messages that you were going to make the team?
Didn't even think it was a possibility for me to get sent down. And I was like the last cut, and yeah, I got sent down, and I took it hard. That was the hardest time of my life. I packed everything up. I put everything in the car, and then started driving down to Houston. They expected me to be down there in like a couple days. So you drive from Minnesota to Houston, and I didn't talk to my family for like months.
For months?
For months. I was in a dark, like.
So basically, you were fighting depression?
I just felt like I had let everybody down. I just felt like I was just like this big failure. And I get down to Houston. We go on a road trip to Manitoba, and had a good first game. Like, had a good first game. I might have got an assist in the first game, and then the second game, there was a guy coming through the middle, and I tried to, you know, a big open ice hit, and his helmet hit me right in my nose and blew up my nose, and I had to get like surgery on my nose. It was so like done. Yeah. And like that was like my first. Yeah, it was definitely like the low point of my career.
Yeah, because you spent the whole season in the Houston that year, 72 games, 20 points, and I thought just okay, you've been in the Minnesota Wild, you've been sent down, not even a single game back in the NHL. That was the weirdest thing that I thought. You know, what happened?
Honestly, like again, like a new guy comes in, and he's got guys that he likes, that he brings in, and you know, and I think that year like Clutterbuck got called up and like made a big impact too, and they just I think for them it was more of just they just wanted me to keep developing too, and they I don't know, you know, give the dog a bone, you know, yeah, who knows? I didn't get called up at all, and yeah, and that was that year, and then the year after we had the coaching change in the minors. We had Mike Yeo, did really well with him. he was I think the best coach I've ever had.
But during that season in the AHL, did you call up the Minnesota GM and or coaches and said, "Hey, what's happening? Why I'm not getting a chance?" Or you were just like not happy and keeping it quiet to yourself?
I've always been kind of keep it to myself, and like if they don't want to, like, again, like I can't force anybody to call me up. Like I just there was a lot of stuff going on with the coach down there and the players too. Like, that was just, there was like a lot of drama with like the coach and the players too. There was a lot going on. I don't know. I just kind of kept my head down and just grind and wait for my opportunity. And like, if I get called up, I get called up. And if I didn't, I don't. But that's just the way it happened that year. And even the next year, like they didn't call me up until I want to say like a couple games left in the season. Like that's when I got my next call up back to the NHL was the next season, like at the end of their season, basically before we were going into playoffs. So that's just the way it was. Yeah.
Has there ever been a point in your career where you're thinking to yourself, "Damn, I'm not enjoying this. I just don't like playing hockey"?
Be honest.
Besides this season?
Yeah, besides this season. Because we're going to get to this season.
Actually, I think we need...
Clickbait.
Yeah, clickbait.
You did it. We'll jump to this season, but we maybe should jump some 2-3 seasons from this point where we were talking to Columbus, I think, or we will still talk about Minnesota. If there's something special, because we're going from season to season.
Yeah. Well, and then the season after, I had a good season, good playoff run. Then Mike Yeo ends up getting on with Minnesota. I ended up signing my entry-level contract was up. So
you get an extension in Minnesota.
So they ended up signing me to one-way for 2 years in Minnesota. And Mike Hill's the coach, and he knew me really well from the year before, and like I was kind of like his go-to, penalty kill guy, and hard to play against, and then I was up in the NHL and never was really getting that the opportunity, even if guys got injured on third line, they called up at every single one of the guy, the Houston Arrows that season, every single one of them, and they would put him on third line, and I'd still be on fourth line or something like that, just working hard like I normally do. And then we were in St. Louis, and Chuck Fletcher was on the road trip, and he brings me aside, and we're all about to walk to the rink. It's a game day, and pulls me aside and he says, we're gonna put you on waivers and send you down. And I was just like, again, another one of those things where I didn't even think
you didn't see it coming.
I did not see any of it coming. A couple of games before, he came up to me and he was like, "That's the best game I've ever seen you play," and things like that. And then
we think that's the thing about North Americans. We joke between us, you will never hear anything negative from somebody from Canada or somebody from the States.
Yeah, it's always the coach is, "You're a great player, but we are sending you down."
Yeah, exactly.
You're one of the best, but we have to send you down. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's, I think, is the one thing you can give it to Latvian coaches and to the Russian coaches. If they think you are shit, they're gonna tell you that you're shit.
Yes, twice a day.
They're not gonna shy away from that.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a very, very big distinction between coaching over here and hearing coaches over in the KHL. And then North America coaches is
so you can't trust the North American coaches.
It's all rainbows and butterflies in North America. Over here, it's not. And then I got picked up off waivers.
Columbus did
by Columbus, yeah, and they were having an absolute brutal season that year.
That was the time that they had Rick Nash, and that was it, right?
They had Rick Nash. They had.
He's the only player I can remember from those years.
They had Carter. Columbus. Carter was on that team with LA.
Jeff Carter, yes.
He was like, it was just weird because like we got there and like it was just like very obviously very like depressing in the locker room and stuff, and everyone was like super quiet, and actually Jeff Carter was like the first person to really like go out of his way to like welcome me, and like he ended up getting traded and then having an unreal playoff run with LA and winning a cup like that season. You know, just like he had me over for dinner, like, and had steaks and stuff, and like made me cool dinner, and then next thing you know he got traded, and then his whole career just like reversed, and he just like, because like that season was a real tough one for him too, but yeah, and then he won a few Stanley Cups after that. Cool.
Good for him. But
you spent 2 years in Columbus, right?
Yeah, so that was,
but that was more or less stable. They didn't send you down to the AHL.
Yeah, so like that was like, I spent half the year, the 1 year with Minnesota, got picked up by Columbus, and sent the rest with Columbus, and then the year after was the lockout.
Yeah, it was a shortened season, right?
Yeah, so, and they also ended up firing their GM.
Oh,
a little bit of deja vu for you.
After I got to Columbus, like before the lockout, they fired their GM, brought in a new guy, and
everything started from the beginning. Once again,
he starts bringing in his guys that he likes, and
he said, "I know this story. I know this story. I step up."
Not again. Yeah. So and then
2 seasons in the NHL at the end in the North American career, right?
Sorry,
2 seasons in the AHL.
Yeah.
After that,
and then, Buffalo give you a shot.
Honestly, Buffalo, they kind of did, like they. I was one of the last guys there too, and then they're like, "Oh, we want you to go to our American League team," and I was like, kind of just thinking, I was like, "What do I do now?" And I ended up signing just an American League deal with them, which it was okay. Like I just sucked because I went from being like on a one-way to just like a straight American League deal, not like a two-way. So there was like not really any chance for me to get called up, and it was
that was the turning point for you to find some other options.
My turning point was actually the year after in Bridgeport.
Yeah,
that was like kind of like my turning point, and I was like
in Bridgeport, it was the same deal? It was the AHL deal or two-way deal?
It was just an American League deal, yeah. So
Bridgeport, okay.
Yeah, and then I was just like, hey, like, do I keep spinning my tires here, or because again, it's when you're.
You have an agent, right?
Right now, no, I don't have an agent. No.
Have you ever had an agent?
Yeah. Like North America, I was with like this company called CAA.
Yeah.
They have a lot of good guys. I was with them since I was like basically 14, like my WHL draft. Like they're the ones that I wasn't signed with them or anything, or like, but they
like your parents probably signed the deal, right?
No,
there was no deal. It was like a mutual agreement.
Yeah, well, it was just like, hey, like again, like not like they did anything at the time, but they just like called like the WHL teams and just like, hey, like we were kind of representing.
There's this kid,
like and we'd like him to go to Saskatoon if possible. He'll still play. Like he'll be happy wherever he gets drafted, but if you go to Saskatoon, and like that's kind of just like the way agents work at a young age is you don't sign anything. They just like kind of the goodness of their hearts, just be like good guys to you and just try and help you develop and kind of give you like a little bit of guidance. And then if the time does come that you do like get drafted and sign, like gets closer to you being like making money, that's when they'll kind of be like, hey, like,
remember about me?
Want to sign these papers? Yeah.
Which was the biggest deal in the NHL? Was it your rookie deal or the one after that? Like financially wise.
He's always speaking about money, you know.
Like I can probably Google that stuff up.
Yeah.
NHL contracts are right there.
Yeah, well, being on a 2-year one-way was probably the best. You know, 'cause even if you get sent down, you're still making NHL money.
Yeah.
You actually make more because you're not paying all these like NHL taxes and stuff like that, like escrow and stuff like that.
Good one.
So there's guys that like are on one ways that get sent down and they don't have to pay like
because the
like all
state
these,
taxes
like, extra-
changes, right?
yeah, state taxes change. Like Florida doesn't have any taxes, so like but
Florida, Texas. Oh, you played in Houston. There's no state tax as well. Because Texas is a good place to play. I know in the NBA, it's a good place to play. It's Texas
Everybody
and
says
Florida.
it's a great place where to play.
Yeah,
I think it's
no
like
state taxes.
I think they have taxes. Not like Florida. I think Florida's the only one that doesn't have like taxes. So like even like guys that I know like Chad Rao used to play in the KHL, and I roomed with him in Houston and stuff. We were roommates, but like he ended up buying a place in Florida just so he didn't have like to pay taxes. You know, that's why like all the old people like kind of migrate, you know, warmer weather and don't pay taxes.
Did you have some kind of a crazy spending spree when you get to the NHL? Because in other sports, like they are having these big conferences with the rookies, like don't spend your money, be smart with your money. Like, yeah, you have money now, but don't spend it.
I've always just like, I'm like, my family's very simple. Like I'm a pretty simple guy. Like I've always kind of been very frugal with my money. But like when I bought my first car in the NHL, and that was like yeah, like I made it, you know. Like,
what was it?
it was an Infiniti FX35, fully loaded. But that wasn't so. Then after Columbus, that's when I bought like
X5?
FX35 Infiniti, which is a crossover. It's actually that. But like, and then in Columbus, I ended up trading that car in, and then I got the 2012 Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT8. You may have heard of it. It's pretty cool. But like that would probably be the stupidest purchase, the dumbest purchase I've ever made, the Jeep Grand Cherokee. Yeah, that was the one there, yeah.
A little bit of Amazon commercial. Nothing can beat it.
It was black, yeah. It was black.
Oh.
And, yeah.
All right. It's a nice car for a hockey player. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was about the same time I bought it. Like it was I probably got the 2009 back in the day.
Okay, but
look up the Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT8, all black. I was
Okay,
like,
The best car you had.
people would be like, "All right, dude." Like other dudes be like, "Yeah, like, yeah, this is my cool car."
Okay,
Yeah.
so walk us through your decision to leave North America and to go to Europe. You said that you have always felt like this pressure, like from people around you. At least that's what I got from you. That you said that when you first got sent down to AHL, you felt that you have failed your family.
Well, that was again like I was still so young. Like I was like 19, and after always kind of being at that you know, like ranked like so high all the time, and like boom, 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 and then like okay in the NHL, and then to go from like NHL and then you get sent down, it was just like the
It's like the rock bottom.
Yeah, it was like the rock. It was felt like it was a long way to fall, you know, and again like maybe I didn't deal with it the right way, but there were.
What do you mean you didn't deal with it?
Again, like I didn't talk to anybody when you
like you caved in.
Yeah, like I was just like I didn't talk. Like obviously, like in the locker room and stuff, like guys, you know, Matt Cassian was a guy that really helped me out when he was just a super nice guy, tough guy, fighter. They tend to be the nicest guys, and he helped me out, and like it was just I just felt like I let everybody down. You know, in my mind like I was going to be this like guy in the NHL for a long time and make a big impact, and that's not what happened. And
did you have the same feelings when you decided to go to Slovakia? Or then you were
actually why Slovakia? Actually, I wanted to know why Slovakia.
That's a good story. This is a good story. I actually ended up the agent that I was with forever. That summer, I ended up parting ways. So like again, how old was I? We were like basically he was my agent for like 12 years. It was like
You were,
it was even worse than breaking
26 or 25.
Yeah, so I was with that guy for like probably around 12 years. And I was like, it was worse than breaking up with a girlfriend. Like, you know, like, because again, he's been with me through like everything, you know?
Yeah.
And it was probably the best agency you could be in. Like, they had like Crosby and Taze and Kane and Malkin and like just all like these top guys, like Stamkos, like everybody. And so I was just like, maybe like, things were kind of, after the lockout, things were not the greatest. So I was just like, maybe I need some different type of, like kind of like a smaller agency that's going to like kind of work harder for me and stuff. And I ended up switching to this other agency. And they didn't really know me that well. So I was like, probably not the best idea. Like, they don't know me. How can they really sell me, kind of thing. And that was the first year I wasn't getting any NHL camp interest, and I was like, what do I do? Like, do I go to just American League tryout, or should I just go to Europe and kind of restart my career, kind of thing? And then that new agent said there's a spot in Slovakia just opened, and
it was your only option, or there was some other options?
That was literally my only option, is what I was led to believe.
Because I thought in Slovakia, if I look at the Europe, I see Germany, I see Czech Republic, Sweden, Finland, everything. But Slovakia,
but it was just like, it was already like, because I was waiting for so long for like an NHL camp, and then it didn't come around. This is like, again, now it's like end of September, and I'm like, shit, like, do I go to Europe? You know, and like now, like European teams, they've got all their players and stuff. So you're kind of, I just didn't have the best guidance, and the guy just like, basically just like, this is open right now. If you don't take it, someone else will. Like, let me know, basically. So I just like looked it up. Like,
how fast was the decision? Like, when you get the info that there's a spot in Slovakia, and you were like, okay, I'm going.
It was probably like 2 days. Probably 2 days. It was people like are like, why did you do this, kind of thing. Maybe I didn't have the best guidance, but at the end of the day, do I have any regrets? Zero. No. I didn't have the greatest time in Slovakia, but
what was
it was just again, now go overseas, you're on your own, not a lot of English, not like here. I know more Slovak than I know Latvian, because I was forced to learn it, you know.
But Slovakia is like a big countryside, actually. I've been there last summer. It looks like there are a lot of small cities, a big countryside.
You weren't in Bratislava, right? Like, it was.
No, Banska
Bystrica.
It's even smaller.
Never heard of that place.
Yeah, neither had I. But yeah, like the organization was good, but like, just again, like now I went from the American League, and I felt like I was in this league, another drop down, and I was like, okay, this is my last year playing hockey. That's it. Like, I don't want to just, yeah. I was again, like kind of like by myself, not a lot of English. The league was interesting. Like, you have these like kind of like teams with higher budgets.
Yeah.
That, like, the top like 5 teams are like the only competitive teams, and the other teams are.
Was your team a competitive team?
We were, yeah. We lost in the finals that year, and then the next year they ended up winning. I think that was with Mayoni.
But listen up, 28 games, okay, 6 goals, 5 assists, but 113 penalty minutes in 28 games. What?
Struggled with that league.
with the refs,
yeah. I really struggled with that league. That, like, everyone's skating around with their head down, and like, guys, yeah, like,
it sounds like you got a lot 5 plus 10 or something like that.
Yeah. I would spend a lot of time in penalty box,
on boarding, on everything.
It was just like yeah, like go like. And that league was just like notorious for just like guys like throwing all their equipment in the air and holding their body like someone shot them, and then the ref, like, and then he'll get up and like play the next shift. I'm like, this this is unbelievable. Like, this is worse than soccer or football. And it was, yeah, I think the league's actually, from what I hear, has gotten a lot better in that aspect. Like, I saw guys like pretend to be injured and then a ref not call on them, and like their gear's on the ice still, and then the guy's skating after the ref yelling at them down the ice, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, I was like, I can't even believe, like, and that's when I was like, I don't know if this is what I want to do anymore. And then, but that's where I met like George Puyas.
Yeah, you can say it right.
And he's the one that got me here. He was just like, hey, like, do you want to come try out and read? Like, when I was in Slovakia, and he was like came there for the last like couple months or 2 months or something, he just like took me aside and he was like, man, like, what are you doing here? Like, he's like that's when he was like, you should not be in the league. You should be in a different league than this one. Like, and he was really, really kind to me, really nice. And he was just like, you should be like in Germany or like a better league, because you're a way better player than this league. And then it turns out he messaged me in the summer after that season, and he was like, hey, like, do you want to come try out in Riga? And like, meanwhile, for me, like, I was like, am I gonna retire and just like, you know, move on to something else? And I was kind of just like in the air. And then he brought me here, and I was like, if I don't make this team, I'm done. It's over. It's all over for me. And
you'll become a firefighter, right?
Yeah,
that was the real story, right? No,
this is like, the year I injured my shoulder, I started doing my firefighter schooling.
Okay.
So, because it was a 6-month rehab. Like, they really did a good, like, I don't know if you guys seen my shoulder. Like, you can like.
Oh, okay. Okay. There are some scars.
There's a couple scars there.
A few of them.
But yeah, so I'm actually like a registered firefighter. Like, I have all the requirements to put my resume in here, try and get hired here if I wanted to. I don't have all my requirements that I need for like back home yet, but I'm got to do my first responder medical kind of thing coming up here on the 23rd of March. I just registered for that, so yeah, we'll see. It's a very desirable job. It sounds like
you have the same thoughts that you were saying you had after a season in Slovakia.
It was a tough season. Honestly, hockey's been really good to me, and it was a tough season and stuff like that, but like, more serious with my girlfriend now, and I've been playing pro for 12 years, and who knows, this could be, maybe it's my time, maybe it's not, but I would like to, and again, firefighting is so hard to get into back home. I'd rather be prepared and like just like be ahead of the game than being one of those guys that retire and just sitting there being like, shit, now I gotta try and do all my schooling and, you know, do this whole 2-year process or year process, when I could have already been doing it, you know? Yeah. So I've just been slowly tackling things I need to do for it, and we'll see what this summer holds. If my girlfriend can convince me to stay and be a firefighter, who knows?
Okay, interesting.
Don't cry, guys. Don't cry.
No,
it's not a sad story. It's
okay, but let's talk about your 4 years so far in Riga. It's been 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got here on a tryout. So it's not you flew down there, Armand waited you in the airport, like gave you the contract. Okay, here's the contract, signed it. You had to go to practices and prove yourself to the coaches, right?
Yep. Yeah, I landed. I want to say like Riga wasn't sure if they were going to have a team that year.
It's an ongoing story for 6 years at least.
Like, yeah, I remember so I landed. Armin's picked me up. It was like at night and drove me to Valmiera, and
there was a training camp.
And that's where training camp. Everyone had just got there like earlier that day or something, and got to Valmiera late at night. I'm like hadn't eaten anything yet. Just like took a super long flight, and there was no food. And like there was like a trainer there, and he like couldn't speak English, and he ended up like basically giving me 2 hot dogs to eat for dinner. And I was like, what am I getting into right now? And so I ate these hot dogs, went to bed, had to be up in a few hours. I want to say I only got like 4 hours of sleep that night because we got in so late. And 7 o'clock rolls around. We're like running for a warm up before breakfast, which I was like, this is not like in North America. Yeah. So North America, what people need to realize is there's a lot more rules with their players now because of the player union and stuff like that and what's been negotiated in contracts. You are only allowed to be at the rink for 3 hours a day in North America.
It doesn't matter in which league, right?
It doesn't. I'm not sure about the American League, but it could be the same with the American League actually. And for sure NHL, you can only be at the rink for 3 hours. That does not give the coaches a lot of time to torture you. You know. Here, there are no such rules. You can do whatever you want to your players, you know, whatever you see fit. Like, so there's no wake up in the morning, go for a run, do jumping jacks, push-ups and crunches and, you know, everything before breakfast, you know, like, and then go back to the rink and you have 2 practices and 2 workouts and there's none of that. Hell. There's none of that, you know, like, so like, that's like,
I think that they're doing the same with the kids, actually. When you have the camps in the summer, about the morning routine, you wake up, you go running, you have a practice at first, and only then you have breakfast.
Yeah.
You have to earn your breakfast.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, you got to.
When we were kids, it was normal.
Around the stadium, like 2 laps.
Well, yeah, when you're kids, it's normal. Yeah, I guess, how old are you now? It's been a long time, no? Since you were a kid?
Yeah.
It's just like, I feel like it's just like it feels like the Russian mentality, or like, is like I did this when I was a kid, or they made me do this, so I'm going to make them do this, you know?
I will revenge.
Yeah, you know, like, yeah. But yeah, so we did our little warm-up thing, and I remember going on the ice, and I couldn't believe, like, guys were, like, so out of shape. It's like guys were, like, they had no idea camp was starting the day it was starting, you know, because I think I want to say I think you guys didn't know you guys were gonna have a team that year. So I was
but it's still probably so not an excuse for a player to be out of shape.
Feeling pretty good out there, you know, looking pretty good. And then we did this like running test thing too that I hadn't ran like all summer, and I was dying. I was just like praying for my hamstring to hold up while I'm running around this track a million times. Where like in North America, it's like. No. Yeah.
That was also a tough season, that 2016-17 for Dinamo Riga. It was one of the worst seasons,
it was a tough season, yeah.
Norman Sayes was the coach. In the middle of the season came San Sozolinch as assistant coach. It was a tough year. But actually, about that year, year before, Tim Sestito started to play in Team Dinamo Riga, and in this season, you took his place in front of the net, right? In the power play.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I took his place. I don't know.
A year before, he was one of the star players in front of the net, and then came you, and you got that place. Well, he was angry at you or not?
No, I don't know.
Really?
No.
Because I thought.
Was there an article that says he was angry at me?
No, it's just what I saw.
Oh. Honestly, I don't know. Like I was a net front guy, and I did pretty well there. But again, there's two power play units, so
okay.
There could have been space on the other unit.
Look how he's saying that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, yeah, I think there was a stat this year. We went like 50-something power plays without getting a goal, or
51, I think.
Yeah, but we don't count that. You know,
I did count it because
that's tough. That's tough. But
I was losing money on that as well. Because during the games, I'm having the bets on your power plays with the studio guys.
I was gonna say, are you allowed to do that?
Oh, I'm not betting on the sites. It's like a handshake deal. I put one in a euro that you will score a goal on power play, and if you score a goal, I get €5. So there wasn't a lot of €5 paydays for me this season.
Yeah, should have had a bigger payout.
Yeah, probably. But I had a faith. But I believe like one more big turning point in your time in Riga definitely was the shoulder injury.
Honestly, yeah, I was like in really good shape. Came to camp, had a great camp, and Ozil was coaching too, and I was like, this is the perfect time for him to start coaching because we can't get any worse than we did last year. And then, like, again, we always was our first game or our second game? We were in Novosibirsk, and it's our second game of the season, and
a lot of injuries came in that game, right?
It was Gagliardi hurt his back, and then with like 20 seconds left in the game, I got hit on the boards, and my shoulder was just in like the most pain ever, and I was like, what is going on with me? I like finished the shift like in front of the net, just like trying to with one hand, and I was in so much pain. Oh yeah, there we go. I was in so much pain, and then I ended up flying back to Riga. The doctors took a look at my shoulder, and they're like, there's a ligament. It's called the coracoidal ligament. It's where your shoulder connects to your rest of your body. And they're like, there's like a 50-50 chance that it's going to reattach itself. Or like, that it's like the one part is going to reattach itself. And so they gave me like 4 weeks rehab. And we had lost every single game. It was a really dark place. Like I was just rehabbing, and our team was just losing a ton. And
14 games in a row.
And I was like started to get back on the ice, and like we'd have like some drills in practice, and I'd like get like, I don't know, like battle drills and stuff, and get hit, and like I'd just be in so much pain, and I'd be like, whoa, like, so I like talked to our one doctor, and I was like, is my shoulder okay? Like if it's a pain thing, I can deal with that, but like if it's like there's something actually wrong, like we need to figure this out. Like, and my strength was getting better in it and stuff, and things were getting better, but and then they're like, okay, your 4 weeks is up, time to start playing again. And I remember my first game, I just like tried to stay away from everybody, like, and do my job at the same time, you know. And then it was like the next game after, I want to say the Team Canada scouts were watching, because that was the year
the Olympic
year, and I was so pumped too, because I filled out all my paperwork to, you know, go to tryouts, and you know, like this is gonna be a great year, you know. And I was racing for a puck, and a guy literally just rubbed me out, and my shoulder didn't even hurt as much as it had been hurting, but that just meant that everything snapped.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like I felt like a pop, or like it's a weird little feeling sound thing, but yeah. And then it was a 6-month rehab for that, and
tough times.
That was a fun year. Yeah, but that's when I started doing my firefighting too, like my online course. I was just like sitting there trying to do stuff. Yeah,
learning on all the theory and stuff.
Learning all the theory, and then in the summer I went to Toronto, where you do all the practical stuff. And
yeah, I think I heard that you said that you could be a firefighter here. Don't do that. They are not getting paid anything. When you start your firefighting career, do it back home.
Yeah.
It's gonna be better for you.
Well, it would have been cool to like just like go to a fire hall and like here maybe do like a publicity thing this season, but it's always kind of tough to. We're always so busy,
but you can play and be as a firefighter and play in Latvian national championship.
Yeah.
No, it didn't look like it. he thought about
Not
that.
an option for you?
Yeah.
I should probably get my passport. I've been here 4 years now.
Actually, there is some money in Latvian national championship this year.
Some money.
Some money. There is some money
Somewhere.
somewhere.
But there's also in Canada some kind of a firefighter league or something like that, right? Ice hockey league.
Yeah, there's like there's a league. Again, a lot of firefighters, like a lot of hockey players or guys that play sports, kind of become firefighters because you're already, used to working together as a team.
Be in good shape, teamwork.
You already, you have the discipline to, stay in shape and, be ready and be up to date on, certain strategies and things like that. So that's why if any fire captains are listening out there in Canada, I would be a good fit.
Okay, I think we're finally here.
We're here
For this
We're
season.
here for
But
this season.
Before we
season.
started this season, can you give us some kind of a top about the best cities in the KHL and the worst cities in the KHL? I want to know if there is a chance where you can spend some time, your free time in some cities, and the cities where you will never come back, like Magnitogorsk maybe or something like that.
Yeah. Never come back.
Air pollution and all that.
Neftihimik.
So there are two.
Neftihimik. Yeah, those are like the big ones for me. Magnitogorsk, Neftihimik.
So when you go to the hotel, you just lock the window and try to not to breathe.
Like Neftihimik, it's not even a hotel. It's like this old. It's like an apartment building that like they just like when we come there, it turns into a hotel. Like I don't know. It's like this. When you can go like hit the bed and like a cloud of dust comes off it, that's when you're like, like I'm just gonna wear my clothes to sleep tonight. Yeah.
So that's the point where you're thinking, I shouldn't bring my own stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be sad if I never went to those places again. Yeah.
Okay.
Best cities, like Moscow's a cool city.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool city. St. Petersburg was cool. The 1 year, like I kind of broke my nose a little bit, so I actually got a scan in St. Petersburg, and then after the scan, like everyone was practicing, so because I had to get a scan, so like, it was during practice. Then I just like walked around and went to like the Winter Palace there and stuff. So I kind of actually got to see that city a little bit more than I have the other ones, because like normally when we go places, like we get in at night, you try and sleep as much as you can, go practice, get ready, and then go to the game. There's not a lot of time to go visit places and check out the city because you're just focused on
Yeah, that's what
hockey.
I saw when I went with you guys to Moscow and Kazan. Like, there's not a free time at all
Yeah.
on those trips. Like,
No, there's not. And like 'cause
Hotel, airport.
Thank God there is Netflix, right? On
oh
the
my
road
God.
trips.
I don't know. I can't remember what I did without Netflix and being able to download a show onto your phone and, just be able to watch. I've never been into the gambling stuff. Like when I was in the NHL, like guys would always be at the table gambling too. Also, cool thing about NHL. That was one of my big, like, I made it moments, was you walk on like your little private jet and you got like these big lazy boys, big nice chairs, and then you like, but before you get to your chair, there's like a big buffet spread out with like you can just like fruit and like just a bunch of stuff, and you just like grab a bunch of stuff and you just like take it to your seat, sit down, and then they bring you like warm cookies and milk like halfway through, and you're just like, oh, I made it. Yeah.
Yeah, but actually, Dinamo Riga travels quite nice compared to other sport teams in Latvia.
Yeah, like
Yeah, you guys have it easy.
I like really enjoy the plane that we take. We get three seats to myself.
But you went to Magnitogorsk with the bus. I heard that in this.
We did. That was
one moment, embarrassing
that's
moment.
when I fractured. I don't know if you guys knew this. I fractured my neck.
Yeah, you had the nickname Johnny Cash, right?
It was like, I fractured this thing. I couldn't speak. I was like, it was hard to breathe. it was weird. It was a weird injury, but yeah.
Did you understand who was responsible where you had to go with a bus?
I think there was isn't
Some paperwork issue?
it was something to do
right?
Russia. There's some sort of rule.
It's aviation.
Rule or
We probably
aviation rule or
yeah,
something.
inside flights. Yeah.
That they
shouldn't
just
talk about it. Yeah.
that it's should we not talk about this?
I don't know.
I don't know. There's some sort of rule that was just it's been there forever, but
It's
they just started enforcing it or something.
I think it's one of those rules. It depends who reads the rule. It's how you read the rule.
Yeah.
There are two ways you can read that rule. One way is that
how Vladimir reads it.
Yeah.
One way is that airplane isn't allowed to fly from Russian city to Russian city, and the other way is that it is allowed.
Yeah.
It depends who reads the rule.
I thought it was gonna be a really long year after that happened, because I was like, we got some trips coming up here that if we have to go on one of those yak planes ever again,
There was some kind of smoke in the plane sometimes, right?
yeah, like when they turn the I don't know, the air system on in the plane, you see this smoke start coming out, and it doesn't smell like smoke. It's not actual smoke. It's maybe it's condensation or something mixed with smoke or something. I don't know, but
you're not feeling
my first year knowing that this is the exact model of plane that went down in Russia. And then I could see smoke coming out, and I'm just like,
we're gonna die.
I should message everyone right now, tell them I love them.
I heard that Justin Shug thought that it was also 4 seasons ago. He first time when he went on the yak plane, he thought that he was gonna die. After the first road trip, he thought that he was gonna die.
There aren't a lot of seats on that plane. Everybody is just smushed in next to each other too. So that's why I'm happy we don't take those either. And they go slower, so trips a lot longer, which isn't fun either. But yeah.
Okay.
Last
one before this season. Hypothetical question. If Dinamo offers you the same deal you have this year, do you sign the papers? Exactly the same deal.
Exactly the same deal. You know what? Yeah. I do. I do because...
Poor guy.
I do because...
You love this city.
I obviously love the city, and I do... Obviously, it was a hard season. It was a tough season. I'm the type of guy, and the KHL is not for everybody. It's a freaking hard league. It's tough. A lot of travel, and I am one of those people that I like the hard. And I just feel like the way the season went, I would like to have another shot, another kick at the can.
And you don't know how I know.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be nice. So about this season, what the hell happened?
The first 2 games were unbelievably good.
Beginning of
the first 2 wins, also
really
a shootout win.
Really good.
I was feeling great.
We predicted 5th place.
Well, not 5th place, but we said,
Lowest.
No, it wasn't on this show.
What?
It was here?
Yeah.
The preseason show with Edgar Slusiņš, he said that the Dinamo Riga will end this season in the 5th place. And I said, okay, if you say that.
I said maybe not 5th place, but definitely
at least in the top 8 in the playoffs.
Last season was great, and the feeling was that you guys get stronger in the off season
because everything went well. The same coach, then all the stuff together, everything was working, and
a lot of
just
positivity
need to go.
around the team.
Mm-hmm. Last season, 1 point behind the playoff spot, and then this happens.
Oof, God. I mean, I feel like I've had a lot of time to talk to teammates about just the season and stuff, and again, we had a great start. We were in really good shape at the start, and everybody, again, at the beginning of the season, you have confidence to make plays and stuff like that, and through a series of events that happened, I think a lot of players' confidence and a lot of stuff hit the fan, and a lot of confidence has disappeared. Guys weren't. You get scared to make plays, or else like again, like for me, like if I didn't do exactly what the coach said, like I wouldn't be playing. He just wouldn't play me.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, what do? You do exactly what he says. Put your head down, and grind, and try and get out that way. Yeah, it's unfortunate the way the season went, but it's life. That's life. And it's funny. Well, it's not funny, but you almost like forget about like the summer. Then I was like, summer starts, you forget about like the season and how like, you kind of just like reset. You reset, you get your confidence back, and then you just like start the whole process over again. And hopefully, whoever Dinamo brings in next year, for like coaching staff and everything, they take hopefully they don't get as much pressure. I think a big thing is pressure from the management. I think Gertz had a lot of pressure from management, which really trickles down to the players. I guess through his actions and everything, and I think it's a tough way to run a team when you have so much pressure, and then you got to kind of release that pressure, I don't know, onto the team, and yeah.
Yeah, because from our point of view about the Gertz and pressure, it seemed like when you guys started to losing first, second, or maybe even third game, like
the first road trip.
Yeah, the first road trip, like I think like it's hockey, it happens. You're gonna lose some games.
After the first game against Jokerit on the road trip, I thought this is different team. This is different team on that exact day, and I didn't understand why. Because the first two games and the Jokerit was absolutely different.
That the team started like to making some changes just to make some changes. Like Gertz was
it looks like everything is panicking. Yes.
Yeah, and it happened quite early.
It happened third game, right after our third game. That's when it happened, and like, yeah, like even I think he started sitting like even Berglund, who's done really well this season. Yeah, and he kind of started changing the system, game plan.
All the work that you had in the preseason went in the trash bag, and you started something different.
Yeah, and then we started something different, and then we started something different, and we didn't. I feel like it was, and then we were just kind of behind the eight ball a little bit once we started changing so much, and it just like it was kind of just like a ton of change, and I don't know. I don't like being like too negative, or like I don't want to like say anything bad about anybody, but I think Gertz did what he thought was best for the team, and whether it was the best or not, he did what he thought was best. So whether it was the best thing to do or not, we don't know.
I think it's screwed up that the GM, the head coach, is the same person. It hasn't worked ever in the history of sports. Like, I can take basketball, for example. Like, that's the sport.
We have that in football, but there's a big management behind the coach.
Yeah, because in this scenario, like in Riga, if Colton said, like he thinks that Gertz had pressure from the management. If there's a GM, the GM gets the pressure from the management, and then he can address the coach, and coaches addresses the players. If the management goes straight to the coach, like he's gonna be affected more.
Yeah,
at least I think that's
actually
one thing that could happen.
A good way to look at it. And honestly, I think Gertz is a good GM. He has created a culture, a more competitive hockey culture here since I've been here. That's what I've noticed from my first year to since he's come. And he does bring in. He's brought in some good players, and he is like connected and stays like connected to like agents and stuff like that. And he is always trying to find the right fit guys, and yeah, I think he'd be a good GM in Latvia. So who knows? Yeah, going forward.
That was one other interesting thing that Mr. Savitsky said that our team, we don't have a GM.
Yes.
Like, we don't need a GM.
In one of the studios, we spoke with the team president.
He did it on it was probably the second best live interview after yours. Where he said that they don't have a
still got number
GM.
one.
You're still number one.
Yeah.
Like that was weird. Like sometimes the management is so weird, and you cannot understand what they're thinking about, what drives their motivation.
But how do you think? In October, we were this close. Actually, Girts Ankpans was this close to get signed Linus Vidal back in Team Dinamo Riga. Would that change the whole season? How do you think? Because he was the top guy in the year before. He was a great playmaker. He and Lauris Dārziņš can make that chemistry. Without him, we saw Lauris this season.
I mean, our power play struggled a lot this year.
And power play struggled.
and again, Linus is very good on the power play. And again, you look at a lot of our games, like it's not like it's hard to get upset over our games because they're so close. We have there'll be like 1 goal games like all the time, and like obviously very like entertaining because there's so much pressure, I think. But again, you have that one person that can, get an extra goal a game, it changes things from us like losing by 1 to us winning by 1 or something, So yeah, Linus probably would have helped us out a ton. Yeah. And like Gertz already knows Linus and knows how to manage him, and yeah, I think it would have been great. But I don't know how close he was to getting Linus here. I think Linus was...
It wasn't so close as we think?
I don't think it was as close as we thought, because he was really looking for... He was being very picky with...
and money.
Very picky with the amount of money and places.
If you're doing your job well, you need to get paid.
No, but I saw that Ankipans was going to the team president to ask for a little bit more money to get him at the October, and I saw that there was some phone calls with them, but they didn't get that. And Linus was actually calling to Girts at October and asking, "Do you have something for me or not?"
Dude,
because he wanted to play in here actually.
Yeah. I know he loves he did like it here because it is so close to home, and like when we would get like a break, like he'd be gone. Like I'm not gone. goes visit his family and stuff, which is a dream. Like I always thought like how cool it'd be to play for your hometown. You got so many like Latvian guys playing in Latvia. Get to go home to their families and like they got their friends and whatever. I've never really had that opportunity to just like play at home. And
you're from White Rock, or is that the place of birth for you?
That's place of birth, and
you're the third most popular player from that place in Elite Prospects, actually.
Third most popular player?
Who is the most popular? I don't know. Jason Garrison.
Yeah, Jason Garrison.
You know him?
Andrew Hammond, the Hamburglar.
So he's playing the Rochester Americans.
Yeah, I actually played with Hammond. Hammond's a goalie. Yeah, I can't believe I'm only third. I didn't get that.
Well, you're close to him. You're close to him.
What do I gotta do to get to 2
views? 3,000 views.
Okay.
We can make it happen.
We can make it happen. We will put it down in the description of video. Just click on Colton's prospect page. Let's make Colton number 2, not number 1, but number 2.
I still live in that area too, so yeah.
Was there? Well, there definitely was a point, I guess, at this season when you guys were sitting in the locker room and just like thinking to yourselves or talking to yourselves like fuck, like Girts doesn't have this, like it's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
they're pushing him in a corner.
Yeah, you're pushing me in a corner, man. There was times, and like again, like when things are going that bad, like you have to find a different way of doing things. If you keep doing the same thing and expect different results, it's pretty tough to happen. You need to really like change things up. I think everybody can agree that they do their job the best when they're having fun and they like their job. And I know a lot of guys that did not like their job this year. You know, like it's obviously we're very fortunate. We get to play hockey for a living and, you know, dream like what other people wish that they could do. But yeah, if I know for again, like everybody, you do your best and you play your best is when you're like happy, you know, you're having fun out there. And that was definitely not what was happening this season. So
if it make you feel better, for us it wasn't also a easy year. Every time you see the player and then you have to make an interview, what should I ask this time? The score is 0-2. Okay. Yeah, but you still got the #1 interview. That's the most important thing. You're rocking. So what do you else want to know? Because we are talking quite a long time.
Sorry guys, sorry.
No, it's all interesting.
No, it's all good. It's so good.
So interesting.
I just think, you know, you're tomorrow going back home, so we just don't want to bother you too much.
No, I think we've covered like my life. I'm trying to think.
In one podcast, unbelievable.
Yeah, in one podcast. I don't know if that's a good thing or yeah, that's how you pop it. Yeah. Trying to think. Yeah, there was. I'll tell you another little story. This is a Brent Burns story. So
Oh yeah, great. Give it up.
Because the summer before, I was thinking it was like 17, 18 or I don't know. There was one summer where Minnesota. It was before my first year actually in the NHL. The team, they're like, oh, we recommend that you come train here, which also means like, hey, you recommend, like the North American nice way of saying it, you know, like if in Russia it's like you're gonna come here and we're gonna thank you, you know. Minnesota was like, we recommend you come here and work out in the summer. And I was like, okay, sweet. Like I have $1 to my name. I ended up staying on. There's 2 American League guys that were training there in the summer in Minnesota, and they allowed me to sleep on their couch and go to the rink and practice and train and do all that. And there was a few NHL guys that stayed there in the summer, Brent Burns being one of them. And this is how good of a guy Brent Burns is. He was just one day, it was probably like a week. I've already been there for a week. He was just like, actually like went out of his way, talked to this young hockey player, up and coming hockey player, and he would work out at a different time than me. Like the not NHL players were kind of before the NHL guys, and so like you'd see the NHL guys come in, and you'd be like, Brent Burns over there, and like, Pierre-Marc Bouchard and stuff like that. And he started like talking to me and like super nice, went out of his way, and he's like, oh, like where are you staying? Do you have you in the hotel across the street? And I was like, no, I'm actually staying on those guys' couches over there. And he's like, what? He's like, they're not putting you up. I'm like, no, I don't think they're allowed to with like the rules. Like they're technically not allowed to like pay for, I don't know, this whatever. So that's why I had to stay on the couch. Yeah. And then literally that day he was like, okay, F this. We're going to go pick up your stuff. You're going to come stay at my place. And
whoa, I was like, sounds nice.
I was like, my jaw, I was just like so nervous. I was just like, are you sure? Like, and then so he literally drove me to the guys, picked up all my stuff, which was just a bag, brought me to his like really nice place in Minnesota. That it was just him and his fiance at the time, and it was like this huge mansion, and I just like was like just. It was really cool. It was a really cool experience. He just like brought me into his home and like treated me like family. And he had like all his pets and animals. I'm sure you've heard, like he had this like huge, it's like twice the size of this probably, where he had like 30, oh no, he had like, I want to say more. Let's just say like 40 different species of anacondas that he would that he would breed.
No, I will never.
That he would breed. Yeah, man. I'm telling you, this is like, and he's like, first day there, he's like introducing me. He's like, oh yeah, come into this room over here. Like, on the same level that I'm sleeping on, right? Like the same level, and
your first thought, oh man, he's going to kill me.
Like, oh god,
feed me to the anacondas.
Well, like these were pythons, so like they don't get too big, but he had I don't know, what is it? Like a big case, like a big glass case where he had an anaconda, which like if you feed it, like they live for a very long time.
Yeah, they live long and they never stop growing.
Yeah, the longer they live, the bigger they get. And like the species, like if he keeps feeding it, it will just be the biggest snake in the world. And I'm like, cool. Like, this is really cool. Yeah. And then he also had like a type of species of Komodo dragon too in there, and like oh man, he had so much.
He's crazy, man. He's crazy.
And like I was just like, hey man, like you love animals, right? You put a freaking snake in my bed, I'm going to kill the snake. Like you don't want me to be like morally like concerned about me killing an animal. Like don't put one in my bed, because he's like a jokester too. Like yeah, that was but like he was I would like, so we'd wake up in the morning, like go for like, they had like road bikes too, and like we'd hop on bicycle ride. There was like sometimes, and then like come back, or like we'd train super early in the morning and then come back. And since, like I'm like basically, I'm still a teenager, I'm like, I'm going to take a nap. So like I'd take a nap, and he was so into jiu-jitsu, and he's like MMA and stuff. And I'd like come up from my nap, like, I come up the stairs from where I was sleeping, and like, and I look, and it would be like, the whole living room would be like, all the couches, everything moved into like form a ring, and he would like jump out from behind like the corner and like drag me onto this ring. And next thing you know, like we'd be like wrestling and fighting on this like living room floor, and he would just be like testing out all his new moves that he learned like from his like black belt jiu-jitsu friend. He's like, oh, he just taught me this one. I'm like, and I'm just like, yeah. But
what a character.
He's a good guy. Yeah.
Okay.
So I can end it on there. That was
that's a good story.
He's an awesome dude, and like everyone that has ever met him would say the same thing. So yeah.
Okay, Colton, we're gonna say thank you for your time.
Yeah.
That you honored us with.
Happy to help.
Okay, Alexa.
Thanks, Alexa.
Thanks, Alexa. Thanks, Alexa, to you too as well. Yeah. And I'm really looking forward and hoping to see you next season again here.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you. We don't know. Again, that's the thing. Every year,
you don't know anything about the next year.
I was coming back. Like people are like, how much laughing do you know? I'm like, well, not a lot, because
what to do with your apartment, or you need to, stay in the place, keep it for, autumn.
Yeah, I've never known if I was coming back. So why learn the language if I'm just going to be there for 1 year? But 4 years later, here I am.
Okay, Colton, thank you once again.
Thank you.
Go catch your flight, and the next step is firefighting now in the summer, right?
Next step, coaching some kids and stuff, and trying to pass on as much knowledge as I can to the next young hockey players.
Are you one of those expensive coaches you talked in the beginning?
No, I'm not expensive. Yeah, and then get some more firefighting stuff under my belt, and just keep getting better every day.
Okay, enjoy your summer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jā vai ne, tā notiek vai nenotiek? Es domāju, ka jā.
Kāpēc?
Nu ko, atlicis saldais ēdiens. Sadarbībā ar mūsu čomiņiem no FaceOff. Pasta bija laba saruna, Colton. Laiks paskrēja.
Nē, normāli ilgi.
Bija gari, jā.
Bija gari, bet reāli daudz ko izrunājām. Forši. Mums ir lietas, kas mums ir jāizdara vēl. Jā. Nē. Jā. Nē. Labi.
Jā, nē, sādaļ. Ai, nu tātad kā vienmēr FaceOffā, FaceOff īpašās likmītes, notikums, jā vai nē. Mēs ar to apskatāmies un pastāstam, kā tad mums liekas. Būs tāds ģēls vai nebūs tāds ģēls? Tom saka, kas mums šonadēļ ir.
Ar vienmēr sākam mēs ar kontinentālo hokeju līgu. Patiesībā mēs turpināsim arī ar kontinentālo hokeju līgu. Labi, bet tāda pavisam vienkārši vismaz 2 no KHL izslēgšanas spēļu pirmās kārtas sērijām būs tad 2. Būs nepieciešama vismaz 7. spēle. Skatāmies uz rietumiem, skatāmies uz austrumiem. Rietumos ir tikai viena tāda sērija, kaut kas tāds varētu notikt. Patiesībā nav nereāli. Maskavas Dinamo un Maskavas Spartaks. Austrumos man ir 2 varianti. Baris, Metalurgs un Avangards Salavat Julājau, kas tiešām arī tā varētu beigties. Tāpēc es lieku jā. Es ceru uz to, ka tā būs, bet ar tādu nelielu avansiņu es teikšu, ka tā notiks, jā.
Es teikšu nē, jo man liekas, ka Maskavas sērija neaizvilks līdz 7 spēlēm. Man tur Dinamo izskatās krietni labāk. Viņi izskatās krietni labāk. 2-1 šobrīd sērijā varēja būt 3-0.
Bet tā kā viņiem ar savas disciplīnas problēmas, viņi pakās spēli no 3-0. Done and out.
3-0 4. minūtē no spēle nav īsti sākusies.
Tajā brīdī likās, ka spēle tūlīt būs beigusies.
Bet jā, otrā galā no tām sērijām, ko tu teici, viņas abas var aizvilkt līdz 7. spēlē mierīgi, bet man vienkārši liekas, ka nebūs.
Es teiktu, ka
Zini, kas būs slikti? Slikti būs tas, ka es pateicu, ka Spartak ar Avangardu spēlēs KHL finālā un viņam izlidus 1. kārtā.
Jā, tas izskatās Avangards, izskatās diezgan jocīgi, viņam disciplīnas trūkums ir milzīgs. Baris Metlurgs, es esmu ļoti droši, ka tas aizvilks līdz 7. spēlē. Salavats Julājevs, tāpēc, ka viņa vadībā es lieku uz to, ka tur varētu būt tā 7. Bet, jā, varbūtība ir diezgan maza, bet es esmu ticības pilns, ka šis viss notiksies un arī ir šobrīd tā kā bāze, lai tas varētu notikt. Tā kā es lieku, jā, tu sāki nē. Braucam tālāk, kas mums ir otrs.
Kaspars Daugaviņš gūs vismaz vietas vārtus KHL izslēgšanas spēļu sērijā pret Maskavas Dinamo. 2 spēles, kā minimums vēl ir. Es teikšu jā.
Es arī saku jā.
Viņš spēlē gana daudz.
Viņš spēlē daudz, viņam metienu pa vārtiem. Labi, tur statistikā neieskaitās tik daudz, bet viņam ir vārtu gūšanas momenti. Viņš ar Karsumu kopā izskatās labi. Labi, Karsums ir bijis tuvāk pat pie vārtu gūšanas nekā Kaspars Daugaviņš, bet Daugaviņam arī nav bijis tālu. Tie met kaut kā tāda epizode, kur ar gaļu viņš iestums to ripvārtos būs, ka es saku, 1 goliņš viņam iekritīs. Ja būtu abiem latviešiem, kādam no viņiem gols, es būtu absolūti pārliecināts. Daugaviņš nelielu šaubu, bet būs.
Jā, es domāju, tieši tāpatās, te mums domas sakrīt, kā ir tā ir. MHL, hokeja klubs Rīga, ir tikuši izslēgšanas spēlēs. Tieši tā, kā mēs teicām, jau ļoti, ļoti sen.
Tur vispār bez jautājumiem.
Bet kā viņiem iestājās izslēgšanas spēlēs, un mūsu čomiņi no BCF piedāvā, vai HK Rīga ierīs ar 0-3 sērijā?
Un tad tu kā skaties uz tabulu, un tev likās, jā, tā tam vajadzētu notikt. Un es gan ticu, ka vienu spēli mēs paņemsim no tās sērijas. Jo mums ir pastiprināts sastāvs, būtībā mēs esam tāda optimālākā sastāvā uz play-offiņu. Vai mēs uzvarēsim sēriju? Nē. Es ceru, ka viņi man patīkami pārsteigs. Bet vienu spēli mēs varam paņemt, un to mēs izdarīsim mājās.
Atgādini, man vai es kļūdos, tur ir tātad pirmās 2 spēles būs izbraukumā. Tad jau vajag 2 šeit un 1 atkal izbraukumā.
Jā, tur ir tāda interesanta sistēma jau
2-2-1. 2-2-1. Es teikšu, nē. Es teikšu, ka 0-3 viss beidzās.
Arī nav nereāli. Jā, nē, sadaļa vienmēr viss ir diezgan līdzīgi. Izņemot pirmo jautājumu, tur bija koeficients diezgan labs uz 7 spēļu sēriju. 2-50.
Ka būs?
Ka
būs 7 spēles. Es to viņi pateikšu. Jā, 2,5. Ka būs 2 sērijās 7 spēle.
Tā kā, draugi mīļie, saprotiet paši. Viss ir jūsu rokās.
Viss ir jūsu pašu rokās. Bet atcerieties, ja jūs gadījumā pie mūsu čomiņiem BCF spēlējat, tad tikai un vienīgi ar brīvajiem līdzeklīšiem, tiem, kurus nav zaudēt. Un tikai tad, ja jums pasē jau saskaitot gadus, sanāk 18.
Jā, šito cilvēku tagad skatās pēc intervijas vai pirms intervijas? Pēc intervijas.
Ļoti labi.
Okay, labi. Paldies par uzmanību.
Kopsavilkums.
Mums vajag kopsavilkumu. Ar vienvārdu sākot, pirmais jautājums, vai būs vismaz 2 sērijas ar 7 spēlēm? Es saku jā, Kaspars saka.
Nope.
Nākamais jautājums. Kaspars Daugaviņš gūst vārdus izslēgšanas spēlē sērijā pret Maskavas Dinamo. Jā, viņš to izdarīs. Viņš to izdarīs. Un jau vismaz 2 spēles var priekšā. Un trešais HK Rīga 0-3 vai kāds spēlīt aizķers. Es saku aizķers, Kaspars saka.
Neko viņi tur neaizķers, diemžēl, kā man gribētos, un es ļoti ceru, ka es kļūdos savā prognozē.
Lai veicās Vilkot komandai. Davai!